So now we're going to have our book club kickback with author Mary Monroe. And I'm going to bring her on first on the screen, but we are discussing her book, Empty Vows. And it is a sequel to Mrs. Wiggins. And it is a true sequel because it picks up where Mrs. Wiggins left off. So we have several book clubs represented. And I am going to admit them, but I'm going to ask them to say what book club they're with because I don't have my list handy.
Okay, while we're bringing the book clubs in, I just want to address a question that came up a little earlier, and I'm going to do it very quickly while the book clubs are getting connected.
Okay.
But one of our regular viewers, Curtis Kojo, asked, why do authors need, he said previews, but I'm sure he meant reviews. And it's just like anything. When you buy something from the store, when you go on Amazon, and let's say you want to buy a TV from Amazon, you always go to the reviews to see what other people thought of it. It's the same thing when you have a book, or when you're looking for a book. Readers want to know if other people thought that this was a good book, or what did other people think, because often that's what's going to drive them to purchase the book. So it's very valuable to have reviews of your book, which is why we often ask people who watch the authors on this show, please go out and support them, not just buy the book, but leave a review, because that's going to help drive sales and then get that author to that status that they're trying to get. That's a great way to support an author without spending a whole lot of money. Just write a review.
And write an honest review. And
yes,
also don't use the reviews to trash the author. Some people don't do that. Don't do that. That's not helpful. And if you have a personal beef or just criticism, reach out to the author personally and voice your criticism instead of giving them a 1 star. But at any rate, we are ready to start our book club kickback with Mary Monroe. And we are so excited to have Mary on the show. Mary is a prolific writer, and she's been writing. She's going to tell us how long she's been writing. But because I know I've been reading her work from day one when she was doing God Don't Like Ugly and all the ugly books.
Yeah, ugly books. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you, but we can barely see you.
But yeah, put your camera, move your laptop. If you're on a laptop, just
there you go.
There you go. So we
much better.
Oh, this is a new computer, so I'm getting used to it.
Oh, okay. I do understand.
Okay.
So we have our book clubs online with us, and we're going to ask them to unmute and just say which book club you're with before we get started with the discussion.
I'm Roy Slade Morton, and I'm from the Sweet Sisters Book Club in Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
Oh, you're right down the street, Royce.
Yep.
And good evening. This is Shayna Plummer, also a member of the Sweet Soul Sisters Book Club from Beltsville, Maryland.
Oh, you're right down the street too. I'm at the
Hi, I'm Jackie Lawson with the Sweet Soul Sisters Book Club.
Hello.
And I'm in Washington, D.C.
You're down the street too.
Yeah, girl, just down the street. You know how we say we down the street.
I'm Angie Wood. I'm with the Sweet Soul Sisters Book Club and with another book club called United Sisters Book Club. And I'm in Clinton, Maryland.
What is going on with Maryland and DC today?
We in the house.
Just come on by. Just come on by.
We in the house.
Okay, who else is on?
This is LaWanda Durso Johnson. I'm with Black Pearls Keeping It Real, located in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Hi, this is Kenya Shields. I'm with Sister Friends Book Club in Houston.
Oh, okay, Sister Friends. My friend
Charmaine.
Charmaine. I was thinking Charlotte. Charmaine, is she gonna be on?
I think so. I just sent a reminder. So
Okay.
I think she'll be on.
Charmaine Renee. She was on, we had her on the show representing the book club. I think it was early on, like in 2020 though.
I remember that.
Okay, so who are we missing that hasn't talked yet? Which book club? Vivian Lewis, did you say anything? No. Are we missing somebody who didn't say, did everybody announce themselves?
Did you hear me, Vivian?
No.
Okay, Vivian Lewis, Dallas, Driven Divas.
Okay, the Driven Divas. Okay. All right. Okay. So everybody has announced their clubs. All the clubs have been announced. Okay, so we can get into our discussion of Empty Vows.
Empty Vows.
And as I said, it is a sequel to Mrs. Wiggins. And at the end of our discussion, we have 3 autographed copies of Empty Vows to give away. And we always give away our books based on trivia questions about the storyline of the book that we ask, that required the person to have read the book, because they're not questions or answers that can be easily Googled. So first we want to just say a little bit, have Mary talk about what the general storyline about Empty Vows is.
Okay, Empty Vows picks up where Mrs. Wiggins ends. And a lot of people who read Mrs. Wiggins thought that was the end of the story. But this is a 3-part story. Mrs. Wiggins is part 1. Empty Vows is part 2, where the husband, the widower, is telling his story and also introducing the new Mrs. Wiggins. And so he's keeping up the, his act, he's gay, and he wants to keep it hidden. So what he thinks he needs is a new wife. So basically it's about him and this new woman getting together and how he's duping her, but she's duping him too. They're both leading double lives.
Right.
It's gonna lead to a lot of drama. Believe me.
All right now.
Yeah, well, we know this is a discussion about the plot, so we can have spoilers on here. And if people don't want to know what happens, they can mute certain parts or whatever. But this whole thing is to discuss the book and the plot of the book and how the storyline goes. So I read the book. I enjoyed it. It in some ways the plot is unbelievable, but then in other ways is plausible. So
anything. Truth is stranger than fiction.
Now I was and book club members, feel free to chime in anytime with questions or whatever. But I wondered if, do you know somebody who did this, or was this based on your imagination?
Well, mostly it's my imagination. I know people like the characters in the book. All of my characters in all of my books are composites of people I know. But I have to put them in a story that fits their personality. And I did know people like Hubert, and I did know people like Maggie, and I do know people like the current wife, the current Mrs. Wiggins, Jessie. And so I just build a story around it.
Oh, okay. Because it was really the lengths that they both went to to keep the secret. And what I thought the laugh out loud moments for me were some of the words you used, the descriptions you used about them having, prayed instead of fixing whatever or stop lying. Then they would say, well, we're gonna kneel and pray.
Well, that's what some people do.
That's the way you avoid lying. You just divert the attention.
Yeah, one of my comments was, and they were always just God-fearing. We're good God-fearing people. Like, okay.
Right. God-fearing people. Yes, no, they don't do anything because they God-fearing.
God-fearing, right.
Prayer takes care of everything for the God-fearing people.
Right. And that's familiar with the Southern background, especially in the small country town. You can be the biggest devil in the world and still be in the church and still be respected, especially if we had a preacher that had 4 or 5 girlfriends, and out doing all kinds of stuff, but he was still looked upon as a very influential and important person in our community, because a lot of people use the Bible to suit their needs. That's the bottom line. They use religion and the Bible, whatever works for them. Oh, let me throw this in there. So
you see that a lot now with a lot of our modern preachers. They don't have to be in small country towns. They can be in large metropolises. And you know, if they're popular enough, people will overlook the fact that they have 2 girlfriends and a wife.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. That is so true.
Or as in the case, and I hope, well, it's nobody on here that is in Houston, but I'm not gonna name any names, but as it was the case with the pastor here, had 2 or 3 boyfriends.
What?
Among the deacons and the people at the church. So, and people were still attending. That's what I don't understand. And this is like kind of related to the book, but I don't understand that once you find out the pastor has just done some god awful things, why are you still there? I mean, and then most of the time the pastor doesn't repent. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He just moves on, like nothing.
Some people just believe what they want to believe. And I don't want to say that they're brainwashed, but if they don't want to accept it, they're in denial on some level. And some people will turn a blind eye to, if they like the person and they're getting what they need out of the relationship with that person, they don't care. They overlook all that. And they say, well, I'm gonna pray for that person. Or, they'll say something like that. But some people just don't care.
And it's people who just follow people blindly. I mean, I think about a lot of things that people, and I think about Jim Jones,
Good example.
And I'm telling you, I mean, it would be so many people today that would still, follow somebody out and, drink that Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah. Even to this day, you're
today,
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they know he was a devil. I mean, it didn't just start when he, forced them to drink Kool-Aid. He had been a devil from when he was still in San Francisco. I had a friend who had cousins who started going to his church. This was 3 years before he went down to South America. They knew he was the devil, and they still followed.
Yeah.
So
and he made the members sign over their government checks to them.
Yeah, I at the time I was working for Shane. I was working for OPM.
Okay.
I was working for OPM in annuitant services back then, and I remember, it was hard. It was heartbreaking. Some of the families was trying to get their family members not to do that, and I remember that. I was that must have been like 1980, 81 or something, and it was something. It was something, and then all of those, and a lot of the people that died out there, and then their next of kin, trying to get their benefits and stuff. It was something. But I was working at OPM at the time that event happened.
And most of the people were Black.
Most of them were Black.
That went to Guyana with him, and they just I don't know what he had, but if someone is not living, and no one is perfect. No human is perfect. But when you are blatantly sinning, no regret, then you should not be leading the people. I mean, that's biblical. You should not be leading the people.
Put some of the blame on the people. Because if you got a preacher telling you to sign over your Social Security checks to me, and then telling the women, oh, God said you should have sex with me and all that, something's wrong.
Well, no, I do blame the people, but I'm saying from the standpoint of the person in the ministry, the minister, they need to step down until they get their stuff together, because you should not be leading the people.
That's also a leadership and limelight thing. I mean, you might know that this is going on, but you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave the leadership and the limelight, because you may be getting. You may have just gotten caught basically in your own hype. Yeah, you're getting benefits, and what you want to do is try to justify everything that you're doing. Oh, I'm doing this because this happened, or I'm doing that because that. Yeah, that's what they do.
And so the characters in my book, even though they were doing all this dirt and doing all that, they were still sitting up in church, still praying,
Because
There's
I
a
don't know,
mama.
Miss Mary, how many more times he could have taken that road to get some embalming fluid.
I
don't know.
He always had other excuses. It wasn't just
Yeah.
him bombing.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, he on the road again to get embalming fluid.
I thought it was comical, the mama and daddy, his mother and father. They were very pious people, but they were always in church or Bible study. And it seems like everybody in the town went to the church or was somehow connected to the church.
Right,
right. But they weren't stupid, because when she said she was pregnant, they said already or something.
Well, yeah, already.
Yeah, she had lie after lie after lie.
She literally drugged him. She literally drugged him and made him think he raped her.
That's why I say he duped her. He got her duped into thinking that
Yeah.
can't have sex because he was traumatized.
Right.
Right.
And then she traumatized him, so he was ready. So he
Well,
really
I'm
was
gonna tell you what was really funny to me about the book throughout the undertow of the whole book is about how wonderful and saintly and pious Maggie was, like the salt of the earth. You know, when she did a solo, I laughed out loud when Jessie said she did a solo at Orville's funeral.
Y'all said, man,
you know, that's why
I wanted her to fly. I'm like,
was so God-fearing.
She done killed almost everybody in the whole.
But you know, that's why I thought it was important for people to read Mrs. Wiggins first, because
it was.
And didn't know what had preceded it.
Oh my God! Because if you didn't, you would have thought that Maggie was just the salt of earth.
Right.
But I think reading Mrs. Wiggins first, in my opinion, it set me up, because I was expecting the Mrs. Wiggins in the second part, the same juice, the same scenarios and everything. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay, you know, I mean, because our book club, we read Mrs. Wiggins. And when I got done reading that one, I was calling my sister's name. I was calling everybody, you got to read this book.
Yeah, I had my sister read it too.
Off the chain.
Me too. I passed it to my sister. That was
I did. I had my sister read it.
To me, Mrs. Wiggins was like way high up there. And then when I read this one, I was like, and then they said it was another one. I said, oh, so that's going to bring everything together.
That's going to pull everything together.
Yeah, because Miss Wiggins was off the chain, but with this one, I was like,
well, see, this second book is a setup, because everybody was saying, well, how come nobody found out about the people? How were they going to find out? Maggie didn't tell anybody.
She did.
And one of my
secret.
One of my editors said, well, maybe you should reveal that somebody knew Maggie was killing people. And I said, now who's gonna believe that?
Right. I mean, even Jessie said when she thought about she had some thoughts about killing her husband. She still had thoughts about killing Orville, and Maggie told her to pray about it.
Right. And the thing is, Maggie did all this in secret. Nobody knew.
Yeah, nobody knew she did it. Yeah.
Throw it into the story and have it be believable.
Yeah.
But like I said, book 3 is gonna be real explosive. Everything is gonna come together. And people are saying, I did a Zoom meeting the other day, and they were saying, well, we need to know who was killing all the women. And that's what, if you want to know, you're gonna read book 3. I'm not gonna tell you.
I know. I already know.
Well, I have an idea.
We have our suspicions.
No, don't tell anybody, because
I wouldn't tell nobody. But I got a feeling. I know who it is.
We have our suspicions.
Yeah, I ain't gonna talk. I ain't gonna say that.
I'd be surprised if it's not who we think it is.
Right.
Then y'all gonna be like, well, damn, I didn't see that coming.
Well, then that'll be good. That'll be good. Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed Mrs. Wiggins because she was just off the chain.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a little harder. I have to be honest. It was funny for me because the whole undertow was about how wonderful Maggie was, and then how, you know, and then how deceiving these two was. They was like just grifting on each other, right? You know, he don't know that she doing him, and when she drugged him and made him think that he raped her, and
I know, but she drugged him, and then he didn't know, and he was thinking he had never slept with a woman,
right?
And so this was his first time.
And then when she got pregnant for real, she said, "Well, I can't drug him again."
And she went to such extensive lengths with her lies.
She lied. She had no cut with the way
when
she
she
lied.
spread the blood, the chicken blood on the floor. I was like,
that was hilarious.
I was like, this chick is she's something else.
Yeah.
But I remember her from the first book, and when Maggie was talking about how she met her neighbor, and she was a gossip. She knew everybody's business. But it was something about her that Maggie liked anyway. But this time she was like, wow, this she is something else. She's something else. But what I really thought, I thought that the way I thought was going to happen was, I thought that Blondine was going to find out his secret. When I thought that that's why he, you know, but because I thought she had happened on him somewhere and found out his secret. You know, I didn't know she just went crazy because, you know, she just wanted him, you know.
Well, she was just crazy.
And then she was mad. She was mad because she knew that Jesse was sleeping with her boyfriend too. You know, she knew about that too. Yeah.
But she couldn't find out about him because, like I said, he's keeping a secret. That's why he goes out of town to be with women. Nothing in town, even small
but when
town.
When Conway took Jesse to that moonshiner's,
oh my goodness,
the moonshiner's place, and they paid 25 cents for every 15 minutes or something. And he gave the guy $1 so that
they had a whole hour.
And she said, "Don't ever bring me back here again."
But she did it, and then afterwards she gonna say, "Don't ever bring me back here again."
Who knows how many bed bugs or mice or whatever was in there? They did have clean sheets, but the mattress wasn't clean. So
But see, back then, Black people, because somebody said, "Well, why didn't they just go to a Holiday Inn?"
Well, they couldn't do that.
They couldn't do that.
And against the law. In the town that I'm from, we had 2 motels, and one would let Black folks come in on certain days. The other one, you know, they were a little more liberal, but this and that. That's the way it was. So sometimes people went to moonshiners' houses or to other people's houses, or some people went out in the cornfield, or they went wherever they could. You know, it wasn't that simple to go to. I don't think Holiday Inn was even around back in then.
Right.
Yeah, she said, "Don't ever bring me back here again."
Don't bring me back here.
Well,
and I laughed because I said, you didn't get indignant until after you got satisfied.
That was the point. You know, she had to fake it and then be like, catch an attitude. Don't ever bring me back here. Go back. She might not tell nobody, but she go back.
Didn't she ran into somebody who was
also
married with somebody else's husband?
Yeah, right.
On the way in, she saw it. She was hoping they didn't see her. But then they ended up, the blondine or Yolanda told her somebody saw her there. Somebody told her that somebody saw her. Her friend saw her there at the place. And then now it was a good thing back then in the time that it was set in, that they didn't have the modern day crime solving techniques and
because I'm telling you, the way they got when he said when the book started and it was back to right after Maggie was still alive. She didn't know that Claude was dead. And so then when he said he found her, he took Claude, and he said when he came back and brought her back brought her back, and they were looking at him funny because he done came back with another body so soon, right?
Yeah.
Gracious. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That wouldn't work today, I mean.
Right.
Right. Well, the chicken blood, they would have done DNA and figured out that was chicken blood or not.
Yeah, you couldn't get
Human
away
blood.
with that today. I don't
But,
think.
but back then, a lot of people probably killed people and got away with it.
Oh, they
because-
did.
Yeah. People still
And
killing people
they
getting away
didn't
with it.
investigate crimes in the black
No,
neighborhood.
they didn't. And
Unless you
They
killed a
still
white
not doing
person.
it. They still not.
I'm gonna
Well,
say you
that's
said
very
back then they still doing the same thing now. Some of
You're
them,
right.
That's still true
you
today.
have so many innocent people behind bars that didn't do
Yeah.
the crime.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Every time you turn on the TV,
Yeah.
and they don't even investigate thoroughly the way they do with white folks,
Nope, they don't.
That's still going on today, to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really is.
and the way they do overkill when it's a missing white female, it's like the whole country has to stop
Yep.
because one person is missing when we can't even get an honorable mention on the evening news when it's one of our people missing.
Nope,
So,
not at all.
And a lot of people don't even know about all the Black women, all the Native American women, all the Hispanic women who have disappeared or died under mysterious foul play.
Yeah,
and you hear about it just in passing, that's it. But when it's a white woman, it's on every news station, it's all over People magazine,
it
covers it. And that's what makes me, I'm sorry for the women that get killed.
but it's
makes me wonder.
clearly imbalanced, different standards.
Well, back in the day in the South, Black people got killed. One of my mother's uncles got killed. All the police did was they came out to the house, asked a few questions, wrote a few things on a notepad, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the investigation.
Yeah.
But it getting back. I mean, but we have some creative ways to get rid of people, don't we?
Oh yeah.
The gumbo.
They were missing that gumbo too, wasn't they? They were missing that gumbo.
Yeah, they were. Maggie was when you introduced Maggie.
I like Maggie
in the first book.
That was my girl.
The first time she did it, it was like she had to do it. It was almost like she was compelled to do it. Then after that, she got good at it, and she was like dropping, dropping people left and right.
Left and right.
The first cut is the deepest.
Right, and I was
Get
thinking
past that you all right.
I was thinking, and I remember the end of Mrs. Wiggins, and when I was told that, the second book was out, I said, I wonder if there's any gumbo left in the refrigerator.
Oh yeah, so Hubert could eat it, but if that was the case, then there wouldn't be no story, right?
No, not for him to eat it, but somebody coming over and he'd be like, no, I'm not gonna eat. I don't want to eat anything. I'll just have some gumbo.
Oh, and then
Right,
he
he didn't accidentally kill somebody.
He didn't accidentally kill somebody.
Then she killed herself.
You said that pie.
It's something going around.
Oh my God. Yeah,
and who was sneaky was the what was the name of the guy that ran the shop over in the other town that came in, approached him and was like, you might want to be careful hanging around here and getting your hair cut.
Oh, the one that go both ways. Yeah,
but was all talking bad about everybody. I can't think of his name right now.
But he had the club. He had the club, and he said he let them come in.
Okay, yeah,
as long as they behaved themselves. But it was a shame. And then the dude told him his true story.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another lie.
Another lie. Right.
There was some serious lying going on. And Mary, you just wrote it so well, but because it was like, how can she keep all these lies straight? And how can he keep all the lies straight? And remember, and sometimes they would slip up. And
they would.
Now they told, and then they would do self-correction. And it was, now I noticed one thing I noticed, because it was told in the first person for each of the people.
Mhm.
Leave. You used incorrect grammar because they were talking. It was like they were thinking. It was their
Yeah,
thought,
right.
first person thoughts.
Mhm.
So I noticed that, and I said, well, I guess she had to do it that way.
But that's the way they.
That's the
Yeah,
way
I understood
Oh.
that. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
the way
I mean,
they talk,
if
and that's
you
the way they
speak a
talk.
certain way, you're not gonna think in a totally. I mean, these people didn't have much education,
Right.
and even some of the ones that did finish school and whatnot, they still spoke. That's a dialect. So
Right.
Right.
dialect. And
I got it, but I
Yeah.
tend to incorrect grammar distracts me. So I had to like talk to myself about it. That's just a little quirk I have.
Well, no, but I understand that.
Contradiction though. If they
Well,
had,
yeah, it's interesting that you say that because the first time I had my daughter read Their Eyes Were Watching God, she was so frustrated because of the dialect writing. She said, why did she have to talk like that? Why did she have to write with a Southern accent? Why can't she just say they had a Southern accent? And she was so frustrated reading that book. And
yeah, that was hard to read. I agree.
Yeah,
it was a really good book though.
Yeah, it was a wonderful. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's
But
one of mine too.
If you're writing about characters in a certain location on a certain time period,
You have to use that vernacular.
You know, they're not gonna speak like Queen Elizabeth or somebody.
Exactly.
Look, the first time I read The Color Purple, I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through the vernacular. I couldn't get through it. And so I tried twice. I tried again, and I still wasn't ready. So at the time I read the book, I was living in this apartment, and it was hot. And did I have air? I don't think so. Right. I remember laying on a pallet on the floor in the heat, and some kind of way, because of the situation that I was in, it was in the summer. When I picked that book up and started reading it, I felt like I was right there. And then I could get into that vernacular. I could get into I laid on the pallet on that floor and read that book in the heat. like I was, you know, it's like I had to kind of be in that state of mind.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not referring to the dialogue, because I know dialogue is going to be based on that. But even the narrative, the narration, when they were their thoughts were in that.
Well, I think that I'm on. I can't speak for. Yeah. No, I get it, because it didn't bother me because I understood that the characters were narrating their own.
Right.
They were using right. So it wasn't like a third party that was coming in and filling you in after their discussion. They were really narrating it. So they were narrating it from what they.
In their language.
Yeah. I got that. Yeah, I got that.
And that's a style thing, Mary, because I think you're one of the few authors that does that. Because most of the time, the dialogue is where the dialect is, not the other
narration.
That's what you're writing in the third person with narrative.
Right. That makes sense.
These are the characters talking and thinking.
Yeah. So you do a really, really good job with creating this picture, painting the picture and developing your characters and making a person visualize what Jesse must look like and what Hubert looked like.
And how crazy Blondine looks standing at the end of that bed.
Oh my God.
In her wig hat.
In her wig hat.
What's a wig hat? That's what I'm
and when I was reading,
it took me a minute to realize, it's a wig. It's a wig.
Well, see, y'all say wig, we say wig hat.
Okay.
Oh. It
took me, I said, wig hat. Then I said, oh, it's a wig. It's just a wig.
I thought it was a hat. I thought it was a hat
with a wig attached to it.
With two attached to it.
No.
Ooh, thank you for explaining that, because I didn't know what
I figured it out. I said, it's a wig. It's a wig. It's a wig. I did figure that out. That is funny.
It It was, the whole story was good, and the fact that he was always, Hubert, he was always trying to figure out how to get away from Jesse to go to Hartville.
Right.
And he came up with so many different stories for why he had to go.
It's ridiculous.
Go, somebody died that he knew from the, and that, I think when he went to visit the person, they were like on their deathbed, and then while he was there, they died, and then so he
School
stayed
teacher or
longer or something.
He was going to Hartville anyway before he got with Leroy, because that's where
Right.
you know, the town he lived in didn't have the products he needed for his undertaking business. So he
Right.
did have legitimate reasons
To
but
go there, right.
he'd go get the embalming fluid or whatever, and then he'd go, and he would and since it was out of town, he would spend the night. You know, this was
Right.
50 miles away. So that gave him a good excuse to spend the night, or, you know, or I went to see a sick teacher, or somebody used to be a teacher and she was dying. So his excuses were,
Well, I tell you what, he was smart because she wanted to go. She always wanted to go.
Say that.
And when he finally took her and made her have that worst experience in her life, she said she don't never want to go. You don't have to bring me back here no more.
And see, that's what a man like him would do.
Right.
Yes.
He was like, well, I don't have to worry about that no more. Oh gosh.
A lot of people said, well, if Leroy had an ex-wife and kids and that, why couldn't Hubert? Yeah, see, I can't speak for gay people or bisexual people or whatever. Some people who are bisexual or gay will get married and do it, and you know, do the things that a normal married couple would do. Some don't. Hubert was in the category of ones who just couldn't bring themselves to be attracted to a woman, not physically, sexually.
Right. Now, one of my disconnects was, you know, because it kept talking about how, you know, you couldn't, his physicality, you couldn't tell, you know, right. You couldn't tell like you couldn't tell Leroy, you couldn't tell. But you had him doing stuff that if anybody just looked a little hard at, the feigning, you know,
yeah.
Oh my God, I was like, I can't connect those two because his mannerisms to me would just give him away, you know.
You notice he only fainted around his mom and dad. He didn't faint in public. And they're not going, that last thing on their mind is
that what's, you know, is something wrong with him. But I was like, oh my God, he's fainting and oh my God.
Yeah,
and I was surprised that Maggie, and I don't remember this from Mrs. Wiggins. It may have been in there, but I don't remember it. But Jesse referred to it several times, and somebody else did too. And they were saying that Maggie was telling people what a specimen, you know, his physical sexual prowess was so good. I don't remember her telling people that in the first book.
She mentioned it to Jesse, only in passing, you know.
Oh, okay. But in this book, they talked about it often.
Jesse talked about it.
Yeah,
Jesse talked about it.
But somebody else mentioned it too.
But see, there were things that couldn't put everything in Mrs.
Right.
Wiggins.
I know, it was just funny to me.
Jesse's telling her story. She's reflecting on all the times Maggie bragged about what a great lover.
Right. She like, I want some of that.
But it wasn't mentioned that often in Mrs. Wiggins. But since Jesse's married to him now and she's reflecting on all the times Maggie bragged about him in the bedroom and this and that. So that's why she thought, oh, this thing is just temporary. You know, I'm gonna find out what Jesse said.
But the same rules applies today. That's why you don't be telling people. You don't be telling your friends that.
Don't tell them. You right, Royce. You right. You better tell some, keep some.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, because in the reflecting part, Maggie was basically a saint. And Hubert was a hunk, like a
right, exactly. It was like they had the perfect marriage.
Right.
You know, they had the perfect marriage. So somebody from the outside is looking and coveting and envying, and they don't even know what they look because it's not real, but they don't know that.
They don't know that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They don't know that. And so all those other women bringing him food and trying to be the next Mrs. Wiggins. Shoot, they think he the catch. She the catch of the week. You know?
And when he didn't know, it was funny because when he didn't know what he was gonna do, when she was trying to get in, well, I'll fix this, I'll come and I'll clean. But no, you don't have to do that. Somebody else is gonna do this, or somebody else is gonna do that. It's like, but that's how it is in the church too. When somebody lose somebody and they find out that somebody is a widower.
Oh my gosh.
Lord Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Right.
They all go after him.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Well, he had them lined up because they were doing it.
He had them lined up.
He did. And then his parents, they wanted him to have another wife. You know, they didn't want him to be lonely. And
right.
They was trying to set him up, but he was doing all right on his own. You know,
yeah, he was.
I gotta admit, that bothered me reading the book. The way those women would literally slave all day, working in the nursing home, working whatever, maids, and then come home and cook and clean for him.
Right.
That bothered me. It's like, oh my God.
Well, he was paying Jesse. Remember, he was paying her.
Yeah, he was paying Jesse.
$5 a week.
He gave a promotion too. I think he gave her a little more money, you know. Yeah.
So she was, you know, she was setting her trap. She was thinking, here he's the most respected Black man in town, most prestigious family.
Her sister said, you better get your life together and get that man.
You look, step up your game.
She was looking at him as a friend.
She
said, you better, friend my butt. You better go ahead and get that man.
And that's why she got real aggressive, you know.
She did, yeah.
So I'm going after
that
him.
Sister might be right. She on to something.
Everybody thought he was an awesome catch.
Oh yeah.
He was.
Well, how does that song go? But when we get behind closed doors.
Right.
It's a totally different story. But see, they didn't know that. They didn't know it was totally, he wasn't what he appeared to be.
Right. Exactly.
And most people aren't. Most men
They're
aren't.
not. Exactly. They're not. They're not.
Well, some of us
you better be careful for
some
you
of
know
us are
what
out
you
there like that too.
Huh?
I said some women are like that too.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
That is true.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Remember, he said it would have been perfect if he could have found a woman who liked women.
Yeah.
He said that would have been perfect if he could have found a woman who liked women. You know, he knew he had to be bothered. They never had to be bothered with that.
So the whole thing was
just a sham
for a show.
Yeah.
The whole relationship was just a sham, but they were both leading double lives.
Right.
Quadruple life, I guess. But they
they got to keep telling lies to cover up lies. And so once you start lying, it's a never-ending process. You know, you got to tell new lies, old lies. Then you got to cover. You know, sometimes the old lies will come back to haunt you, and you got to think of some new ones. So it's not easy.
No, and then you got to remember the lies you told. It's just too much. I don't know how people do it.
See, they got real good at it. You know, when they would make a slip up, they would clean it up real good and all that.
Clean it up quickly.
They were really good at that. When they would make a mistake, they catch themselves.
They would.
And I was like, gone. Yeah. So you done down this road before. They make that slip up and then they just quick before you really could notice. Well, what did you say? And they done gone on with a different part of it. And you don't even know what happened.
Yeah, because Jessie would say, you know, in her musings, you know, how how outlandish this lie was, and she had no guilt or no conscience about it at all. She didn't care.
No.
Right. Even when she came home and she said the white woman, the nurse, the white woman from her job brought her home. And they were like, wait a minute.
Who doing that around here?
Like the white woman brought you home?
He said, I never had no white person in my house.
In my house, it's true. We would be in their houses, but they wouldn't be in our houses. And that is true. Because my mother, who grew up in a rural area, she used to tell us about how the white people that they cook for or they did work for, they could never sit at the same table and eat together.
Never.
they would always have to go in another room and eat.
They eat in the kitchen or on the back porch.
Yeah.
Y'all saw the movie The Help. Y'all know how that go.
Yeah, but that was what my mother told me before The Help. This was her own real life experience.
Absolutely.
She grew up in a small town, North Carolina, country town. And the social lines weren't crossed. You know, you didn't do any social things with white people.
Right.
Yeah. But you know, there's always exceptions to the rule, because the lady that Maggie worked for didn't fit the mold of what most white people were like back then. You know, she was a wealthy, generous white lady who thought everybody was equal. And she made Maggie come in the front door. And she went to the church and bought new pews for them, this and that. Most white people wouldn't do that. But she was the kind of lady who didn't care. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's exactly what she did. That's why Maggie didn't want to lose that job.
And hence why she killed the brother.
The
brother was in there doing craziness.
So Maggie,
right.
were real close friends. But at the end of the day, if her brother had went to her and told her all these lies that Maggie, I saw her stealing your purse and this, that, and that, they still, white people gonna be white.
Right, exactly.
I don't think that Mrs. Dowler would have taken Maggie's side if her brother had come and told her all these lies. She would have to defend him.
Right, and Maggie knew that. She understood that. Yes, she did.
You know, they can be your best friend, but only up to a point.
Yeah.
Right. You know, once you cross, there's certain lines they won't cross. So colored people, Black people, and that's exactly what happened in her case.
So, do you have a title for the third installment? And
It's already in production.
It's already in production.
Find models for the cover. Yeah, it's called Love, Honor, Betray.
Okay.
Love,
Honor, Betray.
All the secrets gonna come out. You know, people said, well, everybody gonna find. No, everybody's not gonna find out if he was gay. He's not gonna run up and down the street or go out and admit it. But you'll see, you know, like I said, you got to read it to find out how they get to that point of where his sexuality comes out and all the double lives merge and all the other stuff. And the murderer, the person responsible for the murders of the Black women, all that's gonna be revealed in the third book.
And book 3. Then did you write all of these at one time? And
no, I had the original idea when I submitted the proposal to my publisher, and they said, well, this is a big story, you can't tell it all in one book. So that's when we decided to make it 3 books. So that's why Mrs. Wiggins was her story, and Vows is his story, and the new Mrs. Wiggins in the third book will be Jesse and Hubert's story.
So that's why you're able to write those books so close together. You basically already have the stories.
Yeah, well, I had the ending. I have the very last chapter already in with all of my books. I usually have an ending before I start with the ending, then I find a beginning, and I just fill it in. And I just build a story around the characters. What type of characters would be doing certain things? And just go from there. And then you're still rewriting up until you turn the book in. Because I wrote certain chapters at 6, 7, 8 times. And then once it gets to the publisher, they might come back and say, well, we want you to change this, or we want you to change that. That's why I don't want to give away certain parts, because I don't know if that's going to be in the final edition.
Oh, we don't want you to give it away, because then they give it a reason.
People got mad at me the other day on a Zoom meeting. Well, you can tell us. One guy said, well, I'm going to get the book and I'm going to read the last chapter. And I said, well, if you read the last chapter to find out who did the killing, it's not in the last chapter. It's toward the end of the story, but it's not in the last chapter. But you're going to miss all the reasons that led up to that point.
Right.
And it's very important that you know why the killings were happening and who was responsible. And, you know, I know people who will skip ahead and I don't remember that. Yeah, because you didn't read the whole book.
Yeah,
and, you know, I have to tell you, sometimes, especially like if I'm pressed for time, I can read. I'll read forward. And if I'm pressed for time and I got to get the book finished before book club, I'll read the back. I'll read the last chapter. So I'll read like this.
I've done that before.
And because even if I'm at the last chapter, you know, I'm like, well, damn, really? How we get? So now I want to know how we got there. So even if so it doesn't kill, it doesn't ruin it for me to know what happened at the end, because I still want to know how we got there. So I have read forward and backwards and ended up like this.
Yeah.
In the book. I've done that.
It doesn't ruin it for me either. It doesn't, because I'm still going to get back and see, what happened. And
I'm like, what?
Because sometimes I just want to know.
Yeah.
Go all the way to the back and read the discussion questions, because the discussion questions pretty much tell the story in a nutshell, in some ways. And they'll say, oh, this is gonna happen. Let me go back and read. Let me read the whole thing now. Yeah, they'll start with the discussion questions. Oh,
now that I haven't done that.
Yeah.
But I will read from the last chapter backwards and from the first chapter forward. Yeah,
I have never done that in my entire life. I've read thousands and thousands of books. I have never read the end, never.
Really?
Never.
Really?
It depends on the book.
It depends on the book.
Either I'm gonna keep reading or I'm gonna stop reading. That's just what it is.
I do that with movies too. Some movies that I'm watching, I'll say, okay,
really?
before I invest in the rest of this, let me see the end and see what's gonna happen.
I've never done
I'll go to the end.
Really?
I'll say, oh, okay, I want to know how we got there. Or sometimes I get to the end and I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to go back. But I've done that. I do that in the movie. I do that
in the movie. Now, there are some books I wish I had read the end, because if I
it would have saved you.
That's why I put the book down. If it's not good by about page 50 or 60, like I said, I'm not going to keep going. So I don't need to read the end. Because if it's not getting my attention from at least 50 or 60, I might go to page 100, depending on how long the book is.
Right.
But I don't read the end, because I don't know. I've never even thought about doing that. I've heard people do it, but I never even considered doing it. So
people say, oh, doesn't that ruin it for you? I'm like, nah, not for me then.
Yes, people have different reading techniques, especially if you read a lot,
At least you know where it's going when you start at the end. Sometimes you miss a lot of important stuff by doing that.
Yeah.
That'll make I would think it would ruin it. But I mean, everybody has their own reading style. And when you read a lot of different books, my style is I'll stop reading if it doesn't capture my attention.
Well, I like to read so much because I read several books of all my life. I was, now with everything else going on, I'm going to read 2 or 3 books a week. So what I did about 25 years ago, I took a speed reading course. Okay. And that helped me with the boring books, because when I was reading the Roots, I mean, it was something, I don't know if you're familiar with how speed reading works, but that helped me get through Roots, and I got the whole story. It's like those Cliff Notes,
Okay.
I'm a speed reader, but if I'm really enjoying a book, I want to read it. Some books I read as slowly as I can.
So you can savor it and enjoy it. Yeah.
Savor it.
There were actually some authors. I heard Victoria Christopher Murray say this one time, that when readers came to her and said, I read your book in 1 day or 2 days, she said she didn't like that, because she wanted people to enjoy the book.
Savor it, yeah.
And she wanted them to savor it. And when you read it fast, it's just like what you say, Mary. When you read it fast, you're just trying to get through it.
Just get through it, right?
But sometimes it's not just trying to get through. Sometimes it's just so it makes you feel compelling.
You can't put it down because you want to see what happened next.
Right.
You just keep going. And I've had some books that at the end I was like not depressed, but I was like, dang, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so engrossed in the story that when it was over, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a good book.
And when I do that, then I won't
pick
I won't pick a book up right immediately after that.
I
need a little bit of time to savor that, experience, and then I'll pick up another book.
See, that's how I felt about Miss Wiggins. I was like, wow.
Okay, well, ladies, we are at the end of our discussion time, and I need to give away these autographed books. So are you all ready? Now, here are the guidelines for winning a book. You can answer the question either in the comments, or if you're on the Zoom, you can answer it in the chat. This has been a very lively discussion. So we've covered some of the information
we had.
It is the most lively book club kickback discussion we've had. And you all have actually answered some of the two of the questions during the discussion. So somebody can probably do it fast. So, okay, you ready?
Yeah.
The first one is Jesse's husband passed away. What was his name?
Oh.
You have to
Orville.
type it.
Oh,
no, you have to type it.
I'm sorry.
And the first person to type it gets the book.
Put it in the Facebook chat and not the Zoom.
Right. You can either put it in the comments on the.
I put it in the comments.
Or the chat.
I'll put it in the chat. I chatted.
Either one will work. But the first one, has anybody answered it yet?
Yeah,
I just did.
Yeah, the one I knew it was gonna be you.
Okay. Okay. So the answer
his name was Bay. It was Bay. Hey, Bay.
His name was Orville.
His name was Orville. Okay, here's the next one. There's a character in the book named Leroy, a friend of Hubert or Hubbard, however you pronounce his name.
Hubert.
What type of business did Leroy own?
Oh.
Okay, barbershop is the right answer. Shauna got it, and I don't know if anybody else did online. No. Okay, here's the last one. So this is the way what to do. You're gonna on Facebook. You need to DM us your mailing address. So
wait, we gotta see who got it because I think Kenya
Shayna got it.
Okay.
Shayna or Shayna got it. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but
Shayna.
It's Shayna. It's Shayna.
Because hers popped up immediately. I was looking at both.
I'm sorry. Are we supposed to be again? I'm sorry. Are we supposed to be typing online in Facebook or in the chat here in the Zoom?
Either one.
Okay.
If you're on the Zoom, you can type it in the chat.
All right.
If you're on the Facebook, you can put it in the comments. So I believe
I think they were about the same time, but if you saw
I saw Shayna
first, then we'll go for
first because I was looking at my phone for that one. Okay, here's the last chance. Okay, ready? Hubert drove to Hartville to pick up a product that was essential to his business. What was it? And you have to it has to be spelled correctly.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh, well.
I think Kenya got it. Kenya got it on that one. It's embalming fluid.
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer. Okay. So the winners need to DM their mailing addresses on the National Black Book Festival's Facebook page.
Okay, 1 minute. National.
So just go to National Black Book Festival. Say you won the autographed copy of the book. I know it's Shayna, Kenya, and who won the first one?
Angela.
Oh, Angela. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, DM us your address and we will mail you your autographed copy because Mary was so kind to. We have 3. Say, look, 3, 1, 2, 3. We have 3 autographed books.
All right.
So these will go to you. And thank you all so much for participating.
I enjoyed the discussion.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
That hour
Thank
just went by too fast, though. We were just getting started.
That's the thing. Y'all the whole time there were no lulls in the communication.
No, they weren't. So it was great. And the people who are watching it online said it's great. It was the bomb. That's what they said.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
nice.
And I want to do
we're-
it again with the next book when it's coming out in March.
Okay, well, we do this 4 times a year. So
Mhm.
the next one we do will probably be in the fall for this year, and then we'll start working on next year. So
Okay.
thank you all for participating.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Mary,
Good
for your
night.
great
Thank you,
writing.
everybody.
And this is the end of our show for Black Authors Matter TV. We'll see you next week at 7. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm your host, your second host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Hey.
And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.